reiterates opposition to any foreign intervention in Syria and affirms that a solution can only be reached through dialogue and the halt of violence. The establishment of more settlement units is announced in occupied Jerusalem as storming operations continue. Iranian Navy maneuvers are to be carried out on a wide scale in Hormuz Strait, the Oman Gulf, and north of the Indian Ocean in the coming 2 days. Good afternoon, this is Irado Krikorian with the news in English. Iran renewed its attitude, which rejects foreign intervention in Syria's internal affairs. The spokesman for the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Ramin Mahmanparast, reiterated his country's opposition to the attempts of the Western countries to meddle in the Syrian internal affairs. Mahmanparast stressed that solving the crisis in Syria depends on ending violence, holding national dialogue and elections with regional cooperation. He said that violence and instability in Syria is the purpose of the Western countries, adding that officials of the region's countries should be cautious not to pave the way for military intervention in the region by countries that support the Zionist entity. The Russian ambassador in Lebanon, Mr. Alexander Zaskin, has said his country does not accept any infringement on Syria's sovereignty or interference in its internal affairs. He asserted his country's call for the implementation of the Geneva Statement in order to find a peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria through a comprehensive national dialogue between the government and the opposition without preconditions. In a televised interview today, Zaskin said, the Syrian opposition is the side that obstructs dialogue and the implementation of the Geneva Statement. He called on the world community to pressure the opposition to respond to dialogue and to work to isolate the terrorist groups from practicing any political action. The Russian ambassador pointed out that the stand towards terrorism should be unified, adding that the constant arming and funding of the terrorists in Syria means the continuation of war, which would increase the spread of chaos in the region. He affirmed that restoring security and stability in Syria is in the interest in the region as a whole. Leader of the Indian National Panther Party and chairman of Arab-Indian Solidarity Council, Professor Bahim Singh, said that the administration of U.S. President Barack Obama is instigating the NATO to intervene in Syria through Turkey, and it is triggering violence to satisfy the Zionist entity. In a statement issued by his party today, Singh said that the policy of President Obama, like his predecessor's policy towards the Middle East, is seeking to destroy some Arab countries, most recently of which is Syria. For this reason, the instigation of war on it has been increased through Turkey, which is one pillar of the NATO. Mr. Singh urged India's Prime Minister to intervene urgently for the sake of Syria and Palestine in order to maintain international justice, peace and security. On the other hand, the leader of the Panther Party accused the U.S. of supporting Israel in its open defiance of all the UN attempts to stop the Israeli building of settlements in Jerusalem and in the other parts of occupied Palestine. The party's Supreme Council pointed out that the Anglo-American bloc is instigating Israel to defy the UN resolutions concerning the Palestinian issue, which have been neglected by the Security Council since 1967. Head of the International Commission for Human Rights, Mohammed Khan, stressed the importance of national dialogue to solve the crisis in Syria. During his meeting yesterday with chairman of the Syrian Bar Association, Nizar Skef, Mr. Khan pointed out that the Syrian people reject violence and terrorism, which is similar to what is happening in his country, Pakistan. For his part, Mr. Skef stressed the importance of internal dialogue in Syria, adding that there are some regional countries who seek to destroy Syria as a unified state. In a fresh harsh defiance of the international community's condemnation of the intensive settlements construction steps north of occupied Jerusalem and the West Bank, the Israeli occupation authorities have ratified the establishment of 940 new settlement units in occupied Jerusalem. The measure is taken a few days after the announcement of setting up 6,000 such units in the Holy City and others in the West Bank, bringing the number of settlement units to be established to more than 10,000 in 1 month's time. The aim is to Judaize the occupied Palestinian lands and blur their Arab identity. Meanwhile, the Israeli occupation authorities continue their suppressive measures against the Palestinian people, storming into several West Bank cities and detaining 5 Palestinians in Nablus and Tulkarm. Egyptian Communications and Information Technology Minister Hani Mahmoud has announced his resignation today. He pointed out that after 30 years of working at international companies, he can no longer cope with the government culture and ethics, especially under the current circumstances and political regime. He added that he will serve his country, but from outside the governmental framework. Iraqi sources said that 2 gunmen were killed in clashes with an Iraqi army east of Mosul, north of the country. The source said that gunmen in a car opened fire towards an Iraqi army checkpoint in a Zuhur area east of Mosul. The army retaliated, killing 2 gunmen. Yesterday, an Iraqi man was killed and another one injured in an attack east of al-Muqtadiyya area in Diyala province. The General Commander of the Iranian Navy, Admiral Habibullah, announced that his country will begin large-scale military maneuvers on the 28th of this month, which will last for 6 months in Hormuz Strait and Oman Gulf. The Iranian Admiral pointed out in a press conference that his country will not allow foreign troops to be part of these drills, stressing that the Iranian ships and boats will not enter the territorial waters of the neighboring countries. He referred to the fact that the military drills will focus on combat skills and launching missiles and using helicopters and military vessels to test Iran's defensive capabilities. With this, we end our news bulletin for today. Thank you for watching. For more news about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. And now to latest business and market news with Vani Gunjian after a short break.